good morning, everybody. I hate to have to do this again, but here we go. And it's not bad news, it's sad news. The ETC family has lost another beloved, honestly, the man who is responsible for me being here today. Many, many years ago, Roger Futch picked up the phone and he called and he said, "Hey, could we have a meeting?" And I said, "Sure." 2 weeks later, and he said, "If you don't mind, don't tell anybody yet, because this is something I just have in the works." And I said, "Okay." And so 2 weeks later, we sat down in his office and we kind of laid out the plans that are now 18 and a half years old. I'm still here, but sweet Roger, happens every day. God still shows up. He is showing up. God sent an angel, and Roger Futch has gone to be with Jesus. He will be missed. He was loved. He was a good supporter of our community. He was married to sweet, sweet Ann that I absolutely adore, and I am very, very sorry to give you the news that Roger Futch has gone to be with Jesus, but what else would we want to do in this life? So he is resting in peace, and I hope that the whole community will show up to honor him. He was a really, really good guy. And every single day when I get up, and I'm honored to get to do what I love, I get to do what I love because of Roger Futch. And if he hadn't come up with this game plan, I wouldn't be here. And it's very crazy because he said, "Can you do live TV?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, I've never done it." And I called my director in Atlanta and I said, "Fred," I said, "You think I can do live TV?" He said, "Yeah, you don't use a script, you don't use a teleprompter. Why do you need to have anything edited?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I'm gonna try it." So the next week they brought me in, and Danny Hensley was in the booth, and Roger, and I can't remember who else. There were about 4 guys, and they sat me over here and they test drove me, is what I tell everybody. They test drove me about 100 miles an hour because they just threw me out there and said, "Okay, try to do it and see how you feel about it." 8 or 10 minutes into it, they went live, but they didn't bother to tell me we were live. And I was like, okay, so I did a whole show. Then I came off there and they said, "Congratulations, you've just done your first live show." He had faith in me, he had confidence in me, and I very, very, very much appreciate that. To his family, he was loved. I know y'all are going to miss him. The community is going to miss him, but the community will never forget Roger Futch. So in honor of Roger Futch and Greg Cochran, another family member from here at ETC who is being laid to rest, we are going to share something that was an event. The Nealon's plane went down and the whole family perished, along with the pilot and his wife. It was a sad, sad day in gospel music, but the most amazing concert happened at their homegoing. Their surviving daughter, Autumn, stood up and sang with the Isaacs, and they sang Family Chain. And so we just have to share that with y'all today. So we're going to do that right now, and then when we come back, my buddy Paul Kiker's here, and there's just a whole lot more than an hour's worth to talk about today. So we're going to talk fast. Y'all better put your high gear ears on because we're going to be running through it today. Here we go as we pay tribute and say thank you to Roger Futch, and we say goodbye to Greg Cochran and the family. They say it happens in threes, so I better watch it because I'm probably the next oldest. But I hope that you will remember Roger and you will say thank you to his family for what he did for our community. Here we go.
We're a big family, aren't we? The family of God, the Nealon's family, all of us in different ways. Autumn asked us to sing this song today. It's a song that our dad wrote many years ago that we recorded, and the Nealons recorded it a few years ago. And when she asked us to sing this, I thought, Autumn, I think it would be so beautiful if you felt that you were able to join us on this song. She said, "I don't know if I can do it." I said, "It's okay if you can't. If you want to come up and try, we'll bail you out if you get stuck." Autumn, do you feel like you would want to sing that with us? Please come on up here. closest friends have moved to heaven. They have left this world below to live up there with Christ forever. There they never shall go. The family chain has now been broken. The missing links are safe, I know. I pray we'll all be joined together in that city built of gold. Daddy was the first to leave us, and it grieved my mother so. Right away, she had to join him, and they are happy there, I know. My days on earth will soon be ending, for I can see the setting sun. The broken leaves will join together, reunite in one family chain has now been broken. The missing links are safe, I know. I pray we'll all be joined together in that city built of gold. Yes, in that city built of gold.
Wow. Wow. That was the homegoing for the Nealons. What an honor to be able to share that with everybody. When we think about every single day, we don't know. And seriously, I make fun of my age because I am the oldest. I hope to be here a long, long time. But it's like Greg Cochran. He was in this building eating breakfast with the guys Friday morning, and then they get the call later. He had a massive heart attack and he's gone to be with Jesus. We don't know what tomorrow brings, but we know who does.
Yes.
And right now, if America doesn't get on its knees and pray, we are doomed, because we have two choices. And I know I'm not supposed to be political. Y'all can get over it. I'm political today. We have two choices, and there's really only one choice. There's really only one choice. Unless you want a socialist world, unless you want to burn down the whole. I can only see now that that woman who's running for president, which just chokes me out, has now chosen the most liberal candidate to back her up that's ever been in the history of our ever. He is like, burn Minnesota down because you got your feelings hurt. Rob and loot because you got your feelings hurt. If I did something every time I got my feelings hurt, holy cow, I wouldn't have time to do nothing else.
Yeah.
Paul, this is a crazy world. We've got to bring, God has got to be in control, and we have to allow him to be in control.
Yes.
And the only way to do it is to kick Satan to the curb. Satan's got to go to the curb, because right now, but I'm so encouraged. Did you know that last night one of the squad was voted out?
No, I didn't.
Only by about 1% vote. So your vote counts. Every single vote counts.
Yeah.
There was one of the squad members. Thank goodness. Thank God.
Would
thank
they have a
God.
runoff for it to be this late or something?
Yeah, it was two Democrats. I don't know what was happening, but I was so excited because when I saw that gentleman who won, I said, he's not on the squad.
Yeah.
And that was good news. That was like news at midnight last night.
Okay.
So I was excited because we have a choice. Everybody knows I'm an old lady, I'm Christian, I'm conservative. I'm so opinionated, it's unbelievable. I went to the Trump store here in Ellijay yesterday and I bought 2 MAGA hats. And because my hair's big and fluffy, it won't fit on me, but I'll lay it on the dash of my car, I don't care. And I bought me another sign that says, I'm voting for the felon and the hillbilly. So, if that tells you anything. And I said, we don't have a choice in America. If we make the wrong choice, the America that you and I know, you have young children. You don't even have grandchildren yet.
No.
Your grandchildren will never know the life that we knew if the vote goes wrong.
Right.
If the vote goes wrong. You've got kids that now, golly, you think about it, they're just at the beginning of what will be a great life for them, or they're just at the beginning of no life for them.
Yeah.
No houses, no food. And I've got some pictures, y'all. We got to share these pictures. Do you go to the grocery store?
I do. I haven't been in the past 6 months very much. Holly has been doing this. I've just been too busy to go.
I'm glad you're busy.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're busy.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
Well, do you remember the Blue Star grocery store in Jasper?
Yeah.
Okay, the Blue Star, Lord love Juanita and Tom Wilkie. I love those people to death. Campbell's soup would often be, they'd have an aisle down at the end, and it would be Campbell's soup, 10 for $1, Paul. 10 for $1. It has not been that long ago, and I'm going to show you right now what it costs you to buy soup. So we're going to go through some pictures, but first, I have to share this with y'all. I tell y'all everything I do, and let me tell you what I did on Monday. What I did on Monday was I took the boys out. We're working on a special for the 75th anniversary of the Georgia Mountain Fair, and we took a 2-hour vacation to Hiawassee. And we spent it on Lake Chautauqua, and let me tell you, that is a prescription for happiness. It was so relaxing. We also took a bucket of KFC chicken, which is just like the coolest thing in the world. And we stopped and got chicken and got some biscuits and a little bit of slaw. And we went out on the boat, and we learned that this lake, a 7,000-acre lake, is pristine clean. It is absolutely beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. If you have not been to Lake Chautauqua, if you have not been to the Georgia Mountain Fair, plan your next vacation to be in Hiawassee, Georgia. It is absolutely breathtaking. Don't they have a rough life? Don't they? Doesn't that look like a really hard job as they're looking at the photos they've been taking, and they're, yeah, okay, what a rough life. But we had the best time, and thank you to Ellijay Phillips. Ellijay Phillips is like the coolest dude ever. He's 18 years old. He is a pilot. He is an amazing, amazing young man. And I think if every family raised an Ellijay Phillips, the whole world would be a better place.
No doubt.
And he votes the way we vote. So I love him. But there's Trace. Trace is we declare him to be Colonel Sanders' child because that boy loves KFC.
I do too.
It is so good. But
the
closest one is Blairsville.
Yeah, I only get it about once every 6 months.
Now this is my beef today, and beef is how I'm going to start it. This is my beef. I shop wisely. Okay. Years ago, and maybe 20 years ago, corned beef hash was 89 cents a can. 89 cents. Look at the difference. When I worked in Murphy, North Carolina, I used to go buy corned beef hash up there. 89 cents a can. It is now $3.28. Do the math, Mr. Mathematician.
Yeah.
Do the math. They're telling you that, oh, your groceries have gone up a little bit. Oh, no, ladies. We know how much our groceries have gone up. Now, look at that.
350%.
Yeah, this one used to be 79 cents because it was the Hormel Mary Kitchen, and they always ran a deal on it. It was 79 cents. Okay, it is now $3.64.
Yep.
It is 2 servings of corned beef hash. So that means it cost you over $1.60 to have your little corned beef hash. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's got 1 potato and a little bit of beef in it. Where's the beef? Okay, this is the brand that I buy. I buy it because it's $2.48. It's still good. It's an Armour product, which is actually made in China, of course. Mm-hmm. You know, our food is outsourced to China. How do we feel about the fact that we're all getting cancer, we're all dying of something crazy, and our food is outsourced to China? How does that make you feel?
Oh, it's foolish.
It is absolutely foolish. But the price of that, $2.49. Now this is my beef too. Okay, 4 cans of soup, $4.78. At the Blue Star, when people could shop reasonable prices, spotless, clean store.
That's insane.
10 cans of Campbell's soup for $1. This is $4.78 for 4 cans of soup.
Okay, so that's 4 of them.
4 cans, yeah, 4 cans. That's still ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. And it's not, you know, who's getting rich? Who's getting rich? I don't know. But I know that we're not. And if you go to the grocery store, I get so tickled. I come in with whatever's on sale. I come in with whatever I had to buy. It is absolutely crazy. And I shop 2 different stores. Now we have a gas war going on down in Ball Ground. It's really not a gas war. But this station just opened. All we have in Ball Ground, we don't have any grocery stores because we don't really want a grocery store. We'd rather y'all drive to Ingalls or Publix. We don't want to bring all those tractors and trailers in there and crowd up our little town. So we want you to go to my favorite Ingalls, which is in Jasper. But this station opened where the Say family used to own a clothing store. I bought all my kids' clothes there for years and years and years. Bought all my kids. I walked in there yesterday and I paid cash for gas. Got it for $2.89. Did we ever think we'd be bragging about gas at $2.89?
No, well,
after
I
what we
did
dealt
actually.
with, yeah,
based on government policies.
yeah. And across the street they had gas for $2.99. So they have $2.89 on one side of the street, $2.99 on the other. One store just opened, so I look for them to play with each other's emotions, you know,
Yeah.
and that's what we do. We play with each other's emotions. And I think that's going to happen in Ball Ground because we're getting another new gas station. We don't get anything else. Now, this is just a photo, and I wanted to share this with y'all. You think about this young lady standing in the middle of the stage, has just lay her mother, her sister, her sister's husband, mom, dad, all of them, and their dear friends, the Haneys, to rest, and their business associate. I mean, this is, and there she stands, beautifully singing that song to her family. And I just can't say enough about how well she's doing and how she's handling. She's expecting her first child. And I just pray that she will have a healthy baby and everything. Now I got to share this with y'all. We know the Fountain Twins and all the awards they've won in fishing, but let me show you what they put on the back of their boat every single trip. Jesus is the answer.
That's great, and that's true.
Jesus is the answer. They just came out of Ohio, where my vice presidential candidate is from, J.D. Vance. He's a Kentucky, Ohio boy. But they just fished in Ohio, and they did very well. And they bought 50 fishing rods for kids who've never been fishing. That's what they do, is they go in different areas and they find children and they buy them fishing rods, they take them fishing, and they give them a fishing experience.
Yeah.
That's the kind of man you want to look up to.
Yeah.
That's the kind of man you want to look up to. The kind of man you don't want to look up to is the candidate that's going to be vice president if Squawky Hyena gets elected. And if she does, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. I'm scared to death.
Well, I mean,
I'm scared.
here's the problem. Did the American people vote for her?
No.
Is the candidate? So you had a
No.
you had a coup that took place. You had
Well arranged. Well arranged.
Well arranged. You know, and here's the interesting thing. I mean, anybody with any critical thinking process has understood that Biden's had issues for quite some time. Okay, I mean, I considered it elder abuse, quite frankly.
I do too.
So-
I blamed his wife, period, for not taking him out of the limelight.
Well, you know, there are some marriages where people don't care about each other very much. They care more
Absolutely.
about their image than they do
Exactly.
anything else.
Exactly.
So, you know, they had a choice. The Democratic Party had a choice to either, you know, put it back to the American people. They had plenty of time to run a primary, or they have a coup and choose who the American people are going to vote for and who the Democratic Party is going to vote for, and then they start this. You know, it's predictable at this point. If you've ever had a narcissist in your life and you have conflict, you know exactly what they're going to do. They go tell everybody around them about how bad you are before you even know anything's going on. Well, now they're coming out, you know, conservatives are weird. You know, it's division in the country, and they're linked to the globalists. And, you know, one thing that concerns me is I think I told you probably around 2016, 17 on the show, I just did not think that the American people had had enough pain. Well, you jump forward to where we are now, there's controversy about males in Olympic boxing.
Oh my gosh.
Did you see the opening ceremony?
Did I? Yeah, about 2 seconds of it and turned it off.
So that's a spit in God's face.
Oh, yeah. That's why I said Satan is in control right now.
Yeah.
He's gotten the upper hand, but we can get him out of here. We can say, not today, Satan, and we can get him out of here.
Well, and he does, and quite frankly, because, you know, this is going to offend some people, but the church has failed.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've got this image of that we have to be nice people. We're supposed to be loving people, but Jesus went into the temple and overturned the money changers and ran them out, right? I mean, he challenged the Pharisees of the day. And we're in a situation where the unbelievable amount of prosperity that we've had in the country that the Lord has given us has allowed people to bicker over minor human nature sins, and they've ignored the big sins. And quite frankly, I mean, families face it, communities face it. People care more about being liked by their neighbors than standing up for what's right. And you've got to do it in a loving way, right? You can still love someone and disagree with them. But, you know, we're at a critical point in our country right now. And I'm really concerned because we've just thrown the voice of the people out. Kamala did not do good in the primaries when she attempted to run for president.
She didn't get the first vote. She didn't even go that far.
No, she didn't.
I mean, it was crazy. And the idea that they have done this. But do you remember the ads 2 weeks before when she was saying, oh, I'm with the president every day. He's sharp as a tack. He knows what he's doing. He's on top of his game. No, she knew. She knew what was being set up. This was all so well planned.
Oh, it was. I mean, I could see it coming. I mean, the discussions
really,
in the
because
background.
I thought they were going to run Biden unconditionally because I didn't think he would ever give in. But and I will always believe that.
I thought that was a game.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, because in the research community, 90 days before all of this unfolded, there were people in positions of power that were saying, hey, here's what's getting ready to happen. You know, there's getting ready to be a coup within the Democratic Party, and they're going to reveal to the world. I'd say I heard 60 days before, and that's why they had agreed to that early debate. And
the early debate, that makes sense. They agreed to do it because they knew he would sink himself.
Right.
And that's what happened.
And then they can
bless his heart, it was pitiful. It was pitiful.
Yeah, and then they can roll out their candidate. And the reality is the reason, you know, you look at it, and I've just thought about this a lot since it's occurred. It takes time for the truth to be revealed. Okay, so like I've told the kids, is like when you're dating somebody, you really don't know who they are for about a year.
Yeah.
If you've got a friend, you really don't know who that friend is until you either have conflict or about 2 or 3 years of being around them, because people are good at projecting who they want you to be, and we need to spend our time around people who are who they are before God, right? Like, I mean, we all have a little bit of a plastic face to an extent. It's hard not to, you know, first impressions are important, business, things of that nature. But you know, they're in a position where now they do this, they've got control of the media, they've got, you know, what amazes me.
Does that shock
Have you? No, it doesn't, because I mean, that's just where the power center. Look, here's the thing. You don't have to control the people. You just have to take the position at the top to where you can set the agendas. And if you focus on, one thing that's bothered me for a long time is when the media went into the school system, is it was CNN, right? I mean, every kid's grown up with CNN in the school system. Subconsciously, that's a comfort level, so they get used to watching it growing up, and then they're there. And then, so you get into the school system, you get control of the education system, you get control of the colleges, and you get control of the positions of power in politics, and then you just maneuver out the people who are trying to stand up for our country, because this is a globalist agenda. What's happening is they're globalists is what they are. And they need to have an equalization of the nations take place to where the U.S. declines and the rest of the world comes up, and our vote is no more, and then you can have basically whatever agenda you have. I mean, we've got the technology now on a global scale. The media is controlled. You know, it's amazing. I mean, I've tested a lot of things recently. I mean, they've wiped the assassination attempt and Trump's response from the media.
Oh yeah, that absolutely blew my mind. I've kept every picture of that I had on my phone, because I was like, they really are trying to pretend that didn't happen, and it did happen, and it happened because of negligence. It happened because
it was criminal negligence.
It was criminal negligence, and he says whatever wrote whatever he was reading, that he turned his head. Had he not turned his head, this would be a whole different conversation today.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know, but again, all of this, immediately what they come out, they're like, hey, conservatives are weird. So we're weird, right? But it's not.
I am weird. I have no tattoos. I have no nose rings. I don't bleach my hair green and orange and yellow. I am weird. I am a conservative Christian, and I'm so thankful that I was raised by a mom who gave me the opportunity to, and she always said, I love what you said about to present your best appearance the first time you meet somebody.
Yeah, first impression.
Because when people, they remember, oh my gosh, she was dressed so nicely. Oh my gosh, she was so polite to me. Oh my gosh, she was so kind. Have you been watching our Vice President candidate, J.D. Vance? Have you been watching him speak?
No, I've been so busy watching what's going on in the markets, I haven't missed it.
Oh my gosh. I love him. He is a Southern boy, Kentucky, Ohio. Ohio's not in the South, but I'm going to tell you, it's yes ma'am, no ma'am. He is basic, down to earth, and I'm so thankful for him. I cried when Donald Trump picked him. I didn't know him from Adam's house cat, but when I learned about him, it was like putting Paul Kiker in there. He's got knowledge. He's got a little bit of experience. He's got a whole lot of goodness in him. And I said, and I wanted somebody, I want my businessman in the lead, and I want my backup to be a Marine.
Yeah.
We got it.
Yeah.
We got it.
Well, you know, it's interesting because Holly wanted to watch the Hillbilly Elegy.
Yes.
And
now, I cried. You know the family history I have.
Yeah.
I did not make it through it well.
No, I did too, because I just watched it from an overall picture. Now, for those of you who know me, I am very skeptical, right? Like, I don't believe anything at first glance. I have to know why, and I have to have some data behind it. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh great. You know, the one thing that I'm frustrated with Trump about is when he was elected the first time, he surrounded himself with a bunch of deep state cronies that caused all kinds of problems.
Right.
So, you know, all of a sudden it's like somebody said Hillbilly Elegy when Vance came out, so I did a Netflix search, didn't see it.
Yeah.
Well, the next day, poof, it's there. And I'm like, I told Holly, I said, after we got halfway through it, I said, you know, this is a little concerning to me that the liberal media has produced something just in time. And then when I found out it came out in 2020, I was like, okay. But here's the thing. We've got a tremendous amount of poverty in our area.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the foolishness
Yeah.
of our leaders
Yeah.
locally
Yep.
over the past 40 years.
Yep.
They didn't understand what was taking place on a global scale. But I do believe that if they'd gotten on their knees and asked the Lord for wisdom, not just for blessing, that we could have captured more manufacturing here, we could have more affordable housing. We need leaders on a local level that'll stand up and work with both sides to bring them together. You know, you need to be more than a good man. You need to be a good man or a good woman that's willing to have conflict and get compromise in the local community and steer us into leadership in the right direction. Otherwise, you've got the extremes on either side. And that's the problem with the media, is they're directing things. And I listened to a good, Stephanie Pomboy was doing an interview with Grant Williams, and she had written an article to the Wall Street Journal and said, hey, you know, we pay taxes on government treasuries and we've got national debt issues. One of the ways that we can increase demand in the future, because the rest of the world's not doing it now, is to offer tax-free on treasuries. And I'm like, man, that's a brilliant idea. And the Wall Street Journal just refused to even consider it because they're setting direction instead of just presenting opinions. And see, that's the thing I like about opinions. I'm never scared of somebody to present an opinion or problem solving, because you don't want to break the coffee mug, right? But you want to look at it and ask questions. Can we make that better? Would that work better? And that's how you get different designs, that one will fit a larger hand better than it will a smaller hand. That's the innovation in America. The problem is, Hillbilly Ellijay shows you why he wants a better path for the future. He has experienced growing up the war on drugs that has been, excuse me, an absolute.
That's live TV.
Yeah, that's live TV right there. So I have a kombucha every single morning, and the bad thing is, it does make me burp every now and then. And I was trying to hold it down, and I thought it was gone.
That's funny.
But he's suffered the fruit of fools, poverty, mom with drug addiction, and he's fought to overcome through many challenges. He's been judged because of what's taken place, you know, even in those that are around him. So hard times create good men and women. Well, the alternative is you've got somebody that are trust fund babies that have been so detached from reality. They've accumulated so much wealth. They're surrounded by people who tell them what they want to hear, and that they're weak people, right? They will lie to get what they want, and that's one of the things we're seeing in the economic data. And I really don't know what to do about it at this point, because
I thought about you with the crash on, was it Friday? Monday.
right.
Yeah, and I thought, oh my gosh, the panic, the whatever. And then I remembered.
You know, that didn't make me nervous at all.
Well, I'm glad, because I remember a guy in a black Chevrolet truck at the Murphy gas station in Jasper telling me how proud he was going to be to vote for Biden. And I looked at him and I said, you can't be serious.
Right.
And he said, oh, my stock market's just the stock market. And he said, that's all we care about is our stock market. And I was like, are you kidding me? And that's why I use the grocery store example, because not everybody has a bunch of stocks. Not everybody has
Right.
gathered wealth, but everybody goes to the grocery store. Everybody buys gas to get to work.
Yeah.
Everybody would love to eat out. And I was going to use an example, but I didn't want to throw this restaurant to the wolves. I stopped by yesterday. I had to go buy my bargain stuff, and I got me a drink and a little biscuit, and it was almost $7. And the drink was $2.79, $2.79 for a tea. Okay, in a paper cup, not a big one. And I was like, so I made a pitcher of tea, and I judged what it took me to make a pitcher of tea. And I thought, well, at least the restaurants are making profits on tea, because if they don't make it on anything else, they're making it on tea. We're in trouble, Paul.
Yeah.
We're in so much trouble. And can you talk a little bit about your trip to Pennsylvania?
Oh, yeah. So I have, you know, it's pretty interesting because I've got clients all across the nation now. So I flew up there on Sunday to visit with a client who's got some complicated things that are coming through, sale of some things taking place. Trying not to give that much information.
Yep.
And then I had to, chose to meet with a lot of the employees. So First time I've ever had 17 meetings back to back to back in one day. I started
Wow.
at 6:45 in the morning on Monday. And of course, market's coming apart, and,
Yeah.
and we were already reduced exposure. So, I mean, yeah, it kind of made me a little nervous, but I'm like, look,
But you were prepared for it.
for
You
the most
knew-
part, yeah. I mean, we did exit a position in the midst of it. I don't like doing that, but we had to protect some profits from a position that we were up a pretty good bit. And it's one of those things where, is the Bank of Japan going to come out and change? The governments of the world are treating the markets like a spoiled child. And the parent that looks at the child and says, you better behave or I'm going to spank you. And we got kids out there. And the kid at 6th or 7th grade looks at mom and dad. And, so imagine I don't have all fingers up.
Yeah, yeah.
And then instead of actually disciplining the child, the parent's like, I just don't know what to do with him, and they walk off.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they're so desiring of the approval of the child that they will reap the negative benefits of that for the rest of their life.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of where the markets are right now. So, the question is, I'm not even going to go into the yen carry trade because we've got, 20 minutes, and it'll take me 30 to explain it. But there's a situation where you can borrow. It's a leverage issue, and it's also a value issue, right? There's not much value in the markets right now. And people are panicked over inflation, so the people who have money are freaking out to keep it working. It's perfect because you've got your corporate sales advisors that are like, you better get in or you're going to miss, and it happens to line their pockets with a little bit. And some of them really believe that that's what they're doing is right, because the only thing they've seen is a market that goes higher. And in every aspect of our society right now, I just go back to the biblical scripture, and I can't quote exactly where it is, but there's a way that seems right to a man, and in the end it leads to death. Now, will it lead to death immediately? No, that's an application that's across the board. People who don't discipline their kids are stealing their future from them because they're keeping them from being the best that they could be. People who want to be friends with their kids instead of loving their kids later in life are not going to be as good of friends because their kids are not going to respect them when the pain of what's coming impacts them. And we're in a situation in our economy right now where the government is sacrificing our future. Debt levels are going through the roof. It's completely unsustainable, so that the investor class can have a market that makes them feel good. And then you've got a whole church that's all about the prosperity gospel, right? It's like, oh man, that person's doing good. They must be a really good Christian. God's blessing them. There's a way that seems right to a man, in the end it leads to death. So the one thing that you said earlier that I want to point out, and I've had a lot of conversations with my kids, and I'll tell you, those of you that are out there are a couple of things. One, this is not going to end well. But it's also impossible to know when this ends. Okay, so let's imagine a situation, and I would pick on somebody, but I'm not going to for the sake of time. You change the oil in your car how often?
We're 3,000 miles.
Okay, I stretch mine to 5.
Yeah. I went over last month 400, but
Yeah.
mine's got over 140,000 on it now, so I'm pretty cautious.
I stretch mine out to about 5. But you could, that's the good thing to do. And I've calculated kind of efficiency on where it could go. I'm not recommending you do that. This is just conversations I have with clients that are mechanics. I'm always curious to know, right?
Yeah.
I just ask a lot of questions. But I knew somebody that didn't think to change their oil. So one of the mechanics called me and says, I know you know so-and-so, but they just came in, they hadn't changed their oil in 40,000 miles.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Now the thing is, I laughed. I said, when's the last time you've seen somebody make it 40,000? He's like, I had one that we think lasted a little bit longer than that, but most of them don't make it that long before there's problems.
Yeah.
If you decide not to change the oil for 40,000 miles, you might go 20,000 more miles, and you might go 2 more miles. You don't know. So that's where we are economically. But the one thing is we all know, and mechanics can show historically, that that's a foolish thing to do because you're not doing what needs to be done. Go back to California. They thought that, well, we'll just stop control burns and blah, 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 blah. God put us here to manage this earth in a prudent manner. So there's a way that seems right to a man, and in the end, it leads to all these wildfires that are causing all kinds of problems out there, and they still don't want to face reality. So that's my concern about where we are as a country. But to go back to what I was trying to go, what I'm laying the foundation for there, as I've been telling my kids, and I'll tell those of you that are out there, the markets are overpriced. They may go higher. This is peak pain for about 75% of the population because the middle class is being destroyed.
Absolutely.
This is peak joy for about 10% of the population, so that's 70, 80, and 20% of the population is fighting so hard to hold on to where they are that they're barely hanging on by a thread. So you've got the markets are covering up what's taking place for the people that are in positions of power, because typically if you're disciplined with managing your money, in most cases you're going to end up in a better position, and you're going to, not everybody, they're good people. They're actually people who've never accumulated anything because they didn't get the opportunity. They're much wiser than anybody that we have in a position of power. The Bible's clear about that. So we're in this period of time right now where it's a slow motion train wreck. And I don't know if it's going to be 3 more years or if it's going to be 3 more months. But we're closer to the end. So build your war chest. Okay, and that's what I tell my kids right now. I'm like, look, you're young, you're doing good, save, save, save. Well, people say, well, what about inflation? The cost of food's going up. Yes, but that's a lagging effect from others. Thomas Jefferson stated that if you give control of your money over to the central banks, to the government, first by inflation, then by deflation, they will rob you of all your wealth.
Yeah.
Okay? So by inflation...
We're seeing it.
Yeah, by inflation, you force people to move into riskier assets because there's no conservative way to protect yourself against inflation. And then if you're not moving into riskier assets, then inflation destroys you. This is horrific for retirees in our country, okay? It's horrific. So now you got people that they can't help themselves. They feel like this is going to go on forever because we have this thing called hindsight bias. So hindsight bias is a mental weakness of what we deal with as humans. We take the most recent past and we extrapolate that into the future. Okay, so if real estate's good, people would justify, man, real estate's been better. I should have done a whole lot more back then, so I'm going all in now. And that helps us justify our actions, but it's also a blindness that we have because we forget about the pain 10 years ago in a lot of cases. And we're struggling so hard.
We'll never forget it.
And that fear of staying ahead, right? So that fear of, oh my gosh, it's going up at the grocery store, I have to do something. There's a way that seems right to a man, in the end it leads to death. So the problem is we've got all this leverage around the world, and what happened Monday is you had a birth pain. That's all it was. Now granted, that birth pain could have spiraled out of control and the water could have broken, but I see it as a birth pain. We've had a few of these, and they're starting to get closer and closer together. I have no way of knowing. There are people out there that claim they do. Nobody knows, okay? They're trying to make a difference in the lives of people, I think, most of them, and some of them are just trying to profit off of this. But what you have to understand is we don't know what the future is. So going back, I keep going down side tracks, and y'all forgive me, I'm looking, I still got some more time. This is a time where you harvest some profits. If you can get out of debt on your primary residence, and you build your war chest because tough times are coming. And that's what I keep encouraging my kids. And here's the thing, I tell my kids this, and this is the reality. There have been horrible things that have happened in the past. I mean, think about what our country went through in World War II.
Oh, yeah.
Think about what our country went through in World War I. Think about what our country went through in the Civil War. Think about how strong the founders of our country were, Thomas Jefferson. Spend some time researching. These were wealthy men back then, and they were young. People didn't live as long back then, so they didn't have the whole education that postponed your entrance into the workforce. But they sacrificed and put their lives on the line in most cases for anything. We only hear about the ones that actually came out the other side of it. What about the ones that were killed before they had a chance to be remembered by history? There may be tough times ahead, but for my kids, I tell them, In chaos is opportunity. And if you keep your eyes on the Lord and you live biblical principles and you ask God for wisdom, then there is no instant gratification in that at all. But as your life continues, it'll be like the sun rising. It will get better and better. No matter how dark the times are, no matter how tough it is, God will give you the strength to get through it. And then you'll look back over your life and you'll go, man, that was painful and it took me a decade to get over it. But if I had it to do over with again, I wouldn't go back and change my life. I'm not going to hold bitterness against that person for the pain that they caused for me, because you know what? It gave me a skill set to be in a position that I'm in today to be able to be a blessing to somebody else.
That's it. I got to tell you this sign before I forget it. Today on the way to work, and I'm not going to disclose where I saw it, but it didn't surprise me in the least, and I was very thankful to see it. It gave me something to laugh at. Huge sign up, a flag that said, "Stay poor, vote Democrat." I'd never seen that sign before. I don't know who did it, but it was a huge flag in ball ground, and I just cracked up because I went, "What?" And I had to stop and read it, and I was trying to take a picture, and somebody was behind me, so I couldn't. But I laughed, and I thought, man, we don't want to stay poor. We want to protect our lives. And my mind, ever since I've researched the gentleman who is going to be running on that ticket as a vice presidential candidate, and I see that he approves of abortion to the minute of birth, I've been sick at my stomach. I have two grandchildren.
That makes me,
one was a
shatters
preemie
my
who
heart.
almost died at birth. A preemie who almost died at birth. Today, she's the most beautiful, kind, loving, amazing human in the world.
Yeah.
I was to be aborted. I'm okay. I'm a good person most of the time. And I said, we could have been abortions, but alive, a child about to be born, that made me sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
So if for no other reason, I could never vote for that,
No.
ever, ever, ever. And, you know, right to choice, right to life, you decide what works for you. I can tell you, Xana Jordan is the greatest gift our family has ever received, and she could have very well not been here because there was that right to an abortion at that time. She could have not been here, but we thank God for her every day. So every day look around and thank God for something. Right now, we've got to take a commercial break or I'm going to get a spanking, so here we go.
That's good.
Whether you're in the mood for chicken strips, a delicious burger, our classic banana split, or an upside-down thick blizzard treat, we've got you covered. Hot and fresh food every day, every time, and delicious DQ soft serve make the perfect pair at your favorite place. Not fast food, fan food fast. Your Blue Ridge, Ellijay, and Jasper Dairy Queens are your meet, eat, and treat headquarters.
Thank you for choosing DQ. How may I serve you?
Georgia Medical Treatment Center now has 2 locations to bring you the high-quality holistic care you've come to know and expect. We treat neck, back, and joint pain with chiropractic care and injection-based treatment without the need for surgery or prescription painkillers. Our medical weight loss program can also provide relief while ridding your body of toxins, pounds, and inches while improving your overall health. Call today for a free consultation, 770-345-2000, or go online to georgiamtc.com.
You know, how you feel on the inside is just as important to me as how you feel on the outside.
Oh, Daddy.
I'm grown up, is there in every way, care and take care of you. You're my grown up and I know you're there.
I'm your grown up and you know I care.
'Cause it's you and me and me and you.
So when you are okay or not okay, I'll take care of you.
He's loose. He's crossed the 40 to the 50. It's a foot race to the end zone.
Keep it. He's got a little bit of running room. Hops over a defender, picks up the first down.
There he goes up the middle. He'll be cut down at the 20.
Is into the end zone for a Fannin Rebel score.
Catches it in stride. He'll go to the end zone. Breaks the tackle. Touchdown.
Whether you're swimming in the sea or splashing in the pool, making a masterpiece, or just making memories, writing a great American novel, or writing your term paper that's due tomorrow. Whatever you do in life, Farmers is here to protect it. For all your insurance needs, call Donald Curtis in Blue Ridge.
Okay, guys, we don't want to scare you. We don't want to traumatize you, but I'm telling you, I want a fair election this time.
Yeah.
And last year, I had little things happen that I kept calling the governor's office, office. I didn't get any of the response I wanted, and it was about Medicaid and Medicare and food stamps and that kind of thing. And it was trying to get help for people who deserve it when you see people who don't deserve it in front of you in Walmart with their $1,500 phone and their $1,800 shoes, and they're using a EBT card. That drove me crazy. So I called the governor's office about a lot of things. How do you think we can make sure that Georgia has a fair election? Who do we need to reach out to, and what do we need to do?
Okay, so that's a very important issue right now. And there's a couple of things that I will say. Now, there's all kinds of everything out there. X, formerly known as Twitter, is not perfect. If you don't have an X account, go open one.
Yes.
Because
Elon Musk is my boy.
You know, I'm still on the fence with him. There's issues.
I like him.
There's issues, but I like him, and I like the fact that he's willing to stand up. But what I will tell you is I was on Twitter for a long, long time. And I could clearly see the change to where it was filtering and all the problems that are associated with it. And I had a friend of mine that I talked to. There's still some things that are getting de-promoted, but they made the comment, they're a programmer, they said, look, there's millions of lines of code in there that they're having to undo. But X, Twitter, is probably the single best source for true and honest news, and it takes a while. I've spent a decade formulating my feed. So who's trustworthy and who's not. So you don't take everything that you see there, because there are bots and things like that on there. But that's a place where you can go, and because people are after Governor Kemp right now on fair elections, and you can say at Brian Kemp, Governor of Georgia, and just say, you know, do your fiduciary responsibility to make sure we have fair and honest elections. Pick up the phone and call and say, do your responsibility and have fair and honest elections. And, you know, we as a people have to reach out and make sure they hear from, because there are very powerful forces out there that have the capability to line somebody's pockets.
Oh, sure.
Okay?
Sure.
But if the people make it clear that we're demanding fair, accountable, honest, open elections, then that's what we should do. You know, my opinion is we've got the technology today, in any polling booth, you should have live stream of all the counting. Live stream for all the people to see, 24 hours a day, put it up so that we know beyond the shadow of a doubt, and that'll bring healing together as our country. But, you know, there's been a lot of data come out that shows that there were some issues with our last election, and it is his responsibility as our governor to make sure that our vote counts.
Sure.
So please pick up the phone, call his office, call it multiple times if you need to over the next several weeks and months. That will make a difference. Can it turn the tide completely? No, but it will make a difference. So that's the one thing that I would encourage everybody to do, and I've got a few more minutes, so I don't want to spend a lot more time on that.
Well, everybody has got to come together and got to really look at the picture, because when I saw her choice for vice president, I knew immediately if any of my family members are dumb enough to think they're going to vote for him, your granny's going to have a fit, because I'm worried about their future. I'm not worried about mine, because I'm not going to be here that much longer, but I'm worried about their future. And there will be no future for America. Socialism will take over. And I don't know, I can't remember this congressman's name. She's in Miami, but she was from a family who came over during the Cuba crisis. And she is amazing. And she was talking about, people, let me show you socialism. Let me show you where we will go if you elect that ticket. And I didn't know her from Adam's House Camp, but I watch her every chance I get now. And I wish I could remember her name, but I'll find it out. But it's crazy because these are people who survived socialism and their parents fled that country with nothing. They were left with nothing. We don't want to have worked all our lives and get to retirement age and be left with nothing, because that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
That's where we're headed. And as that sign said today, stay poor, vote Democrat. I thought that was a hoot. That was so funny. Never seen it before, so I don't know who did it, but
I haven't seen that. I'm sure we'll see I'm sure we'll see all kinds of things. So, you know, kind of back to the world that I deal with, and this is what I encourage people. All right. So let's say 4 years ago, you had 3 months worth of food on hand and you rotated that, and these prices have gone up so much lately, you had some built-in savings. So what can you do? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, 6 to 12 month and ideally 24 months worth of your expenses in an emergency fund is one of the most important things you can do right now. Okay? Take this opportunity while employment's good, while markets are good, harvest some profits and just set it up and give yourself some resiliency. Okay? Because we go back to the story of the 3 little pigs. If you've got a emergency fund that's 12 to 24 months, I like 24 months when we've had a big economic cycle like this been kicked down the road, then you're not in a straw house, you're in a brick house, okay? Will that be enough if we have another Great Depression? No, but it'll put you light years ahead of the average individual, and it makes sure that you don't have to go into debt on the other side of that. Make sure you got some food supplies on hand, because there's a lot of things going on around the world right now, and our supply chain is just in time, and it could be interrupted, okay? And just be wise about what you're looking at. And I would encourage every one of you to read the book of Proverbs, okay? I bet I have read the book of Proverbs, Lord, please forgive me if I'm lying, 200 times. I'm estimating, but it's my favorite book. And the book of Proverbs tells us there's 4 types of people. There are the simple, okay? The simple are the people that are just, they don't think deeply about things. They don't have a bad heart. They're not quite a fool. They're just simple. Like they believe the best in everybody. Then you got the fool. Okay, the fool's a little bit of a choice. It's like, yeah, I hear you, but I want to live for today over I do anything else. And then you have the scoffer. So the fool's not going to chastise the good man. The scoffer will. They're a fool, but they're worse. They spit in everybody else's face. And then I hate to put them by the side, but over here is the wise. Okay, so there's 3 and then the wise. The wise are prudent people who foresee danger and hide themselves, while the simple pass on and are judged for it. Proverbs tells us that twice. Okay, anybody who's willing to embrace the courage of the reality of our situation, it does take courage to face it, is going to have some prudence in there that they need to prepare themselves. But make sure your house is a brick house, because we're living in a straw economy right now.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Couldn't have ended better. Pay attention. Pay attention. And this will be on YouTube, y'all. If you're not on our YouTube channel, subscribe. You can rewatch this all the time. Share it with your friends. Share the knowledge that comes from this man. If we don't get it together, we're going to lose it all. So let's get it together, and together we can make that happen. We can make that happen. So yeah, we're going to do it. It's time for us to get out of here. Don't forget, share this, subscribe on YouTube, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, y'all.